Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. Oh my gosh, it's Valentine's Day. Can you believe it? It's Valentine's Day already. And I am so grateful to be here today with all of you folks tuning in to get your brains fed here on Valentine's Day. So I have a ton to cover. I'm going to dive right in. It is, let's see, just the stroke of 3 o'clock right now. So we're going to start right on time. So welcome everyone. I'm glad that you're here. For those of you who are just joining us, you have arrived at the perfect time. Just go ahead and say hello in the chat. Let me know who you are and where you're joining us from. Oh, hey Dar, glad to see you here. David, Donna, Jan, Michael, Peter, Sam, we got a ton of people showing up. Like as I'm looking at it, the names are just scrolling by right now. Very typical. Lots of people always just log in right at the stroke of the webinar starting. So love to see that so many of you are here. Jan from North Bend. Wow. And we got, is it Zanny? Am I pronouncing that right? From Northern VA. Welcome. Glad that you're here. Oh, Suzanne. Okay, I can pronounce that. That's easy enough. Gotcha. Well, welcome. I'm glad that you're all here. So let's dive in. Are you ready to get started? Because I'm ready. Oh, I'm ready. I got a lot to share with you. So we're going to cover quite a lot of super cool stuff today. You registered for this webinar. You're here now because you want to figure out how to create some raving fan clients. I'm going to show you that. I'm also going to show you how to really, truly, like honestly, make those leads fall in love with you. I'm going to show you how to craft the perfect love letter for all your past clients. And I'll also be showing you how to lock that database down, right? If you've served a past client, your ultimate goal should be to make all your competition invisible to that person. I'm going to show you how to do that today. We're also going to cover 5 really important database nurturing tips. So there's just lots of stuff that we've got to cram into this time that we've got together today. That's why I'm jumping in so quick. I don't want to waste anybody's time. So today I'm doing something super, super cool for you. There's some bonus stuff here that no one else is going to know about. So most of you probably have some Post-it notes somewhere near your office. You're going to want to have at least 365 of them. I promise you. And then we're going to wrap up. I'm going to show you something very cool. So I see, just looking in the attendees list here, we've got a lot of existing Happy Grasshopper members joining us today, which is awesome. I'm going to show you some brand new stuff that's being pushed this week. So super, super exciting stuff that you'll have access to here in the very near future. So let's be clear about who this is for. The whole point, right? This is really for people who earn their living as sales professionals. Now, at my company, Happy Grasshopper, we have a team of salespeople. And of course, we serve salespeople today in about 40 different industries. By far, real estate is the largest of those. So if you're a real estate professional, you're absolutely, I just made that up. You're absolutely going to love what I have to share with you today. And if you're not a real estate professional, you're also going to love what I'm sharing today. This content is great for people who are already our members, and of course, it's great for people who are not. We'd love to have you, of course. Now, the people that get it already, who really understand that relationships matter, you're going to find that today's content is really very valuable for you. And, you know, if you're someone who maybe, like me, is a tad bit introverted and it's not natural or easy to be the person who's always reaching out and engaging, I will tell you that every single thing that you want to have in life comes through relationships. It absolutely does. Harvey Mackay said that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. And of course, the quality of your business is absolutely no different than that. So as we dive in here, I'm going to give you just a brief commercial for Happy Grasshopper. If you don't know what we are, we write and deliver really amazing content for email and social media. Now, most of our members come to us because they need help with lead conversion, with engaging their past clients, their sphere of influence, and of course with recruitment. So those are the things that we're really known for. And the way that we provide those services really break down into 3 sections. We start with organization, then we move into cleaning up that database, right? Really putting together a strategy and a plan for your communication. Then we automate that communication, right? So that includes things like capturing a lead as it occurs and also nurturing that existing database that you have. And finally, content creation, right? Because keeping in touch today is easy. We all have a zillion ways we can reach out and touch someone. The challenge is, what do we say, right? How frequently do we say it? What kind of content is actually effective? And my staff of writers create that. We do that for email, for social media, and for blogging today. So if that's interesting to any of you that are not already our members, just head over to happygrasshopper.com/apply. And for those of you who don't know us, we're not brand new, right? Our company's been around since 2010. We support over 10,000 salespeople. The thing that I'm really most proud of is that our members, they see real results with our services. Our calculations show that there were more than $1 billion in commission that was earned by our clients in 2018. So our entire mission as a brand is to connect your world in conversation. That's what we're here for. And conversation is important because that's the path to contracts, right? So there we go. That was my commercial for Happy Grasshopper. And that's the last that you're going to hear of it until I'm showing you all that cool new stuff at the very end. So first thing on the agenda today is how to create raving fans. And I'll tell you, there's a wonderful book. If you have not read this book, you absolutely should. I have an entire stack of these books. I'll show my camera here just to let you guys get a peek. So hi, everybody. Look at this. I have dozens of these books around the office. Every employee gets a book when we hire them. And one thing that I learned a long time ago was to find a page in the book and to write, when you get to this page, come see me and I'll take you to lunch. That's a fun thing to do. I love giving away books. If you do not already have this book, you absolutely should get it. Now, in the book, there's really probably the single greatest recipe for developing a raving fan client base. And I'm going to break that down for you here as part of what we're covering today. So the first thing that comes from this book is starting with what you want. Like I've been teaching for years that you've got to start with yourself. And, maybe that's your education, maybe that's practice, maybe that's experience that you're developing over time. You've always got to work on yourself first. And when it comes to creating raving fans, that couldn't be more true. You must decide what you want. Wow, that seems like a simple thing that's actually very difficult. Deciding what you want is not as simple as it may seem. We'll break down the words here, right? Decide. If we go back to the etymology, the root of the word, it means to cut off from. So when you're deciding to do something, you're cutting yourself off from any other possibility, right? So it's not thinking you kind of want this, it's knowing for certain that you want something that makes the difference. And so, I'd like to challenge you to think about those things that you actually want. What is this all for? What is it that you're working so hard for? Why is it that you've tuned in today? Why is it that you've pursued the career path that you've pursued? What must happen in order for you to feel successful? And, if we boil all of that down, it comes to the way that we experience our life. And I know that for me, I have some very definite things that I want to experience in my life. I want to have a very strong sense of love and connection with my family, first, absolutely, with my employees, second, and with all the people that we get to serve, third. Like those are priorities for me that really make a difference. So I'll encourage you to think about what you actually want in terms of your experience working in your business. Because that's the first foundational element to really building a fan base. So second lesson is to create a vision of perfection that is centered on the customer, right? So let's break that down. A vision of perfection that is centered on the customer. So, it doesn't matter what you do, right? It doesn't matter what business you're in, whether you're selling real estate or cars, or maybe you're a manufacturer, whatever line of work that you're in, you should have a clear vision for what a perfectly served customer experience is, right? What is that thing? And the way that you can kind of access this is to imagine, just with as much clarity as you can muster, exactly what that would look like for them. So how is it that they're experiencing you? What is that very first impression that they have of you? What feelings are they developing about you throughout the process? And how can you redefine those expectations along the way? So, there's so many examples where brands and businesses and individual salespeople have the opportunity to surprise and delight, like to interrupt that thought pattern and show them something different, something surprising, something exciting, something that maybe they weren't expecting, that really makes them decide that you're a memorable person that they would like to talk about. So that's important. Now, the third lesson is to discover what the customer wants, right? So you've just gone through this process where you decided what you wanted, right? And then you created a perfect vision of what that would look like for yourself and for your customer. And now when you present that to the world, you may find out that they want something slightly different. So as a serial entrepreneur, we call that process validation. We envision something, we think the market is going to want it, we push it out into the market, and then we see how the market responds, right? So you have an opportunity to do that at every stage of your business. And, if we talk about how to discover what they want, there's three layers that we've got to go through. First, we need to understand really who your customer actually is, right? So who is your customer? Like, who do you guys think your customer is? Tell me. Chime off in the chat here. I want to see. Who is your customer? A family. Okay. See what other answers come in here. So we have lots of customers, right? We can think of this individual person, like maybe if you're a real estate agent, you think, well, people who want to list their home. Well, what about the people who want to buy them, right? What about the other people that you're working with through completing that transaction? Like, to put it in happy Grasshopper terms, our customers may be the people who subscribe to our messages, right? Subscribe to our service. Our customers are also very much the people who read the messages that we send. Like, we have a responsibility to consider the service that goes beyond just our customer, but onto the impact that that makes in the world for our customer, right? So there's layers there. As you're considering who you're serving and what they're, okay, and here's a whole bunch of them that are coming in. Buyers, sellers, young professionals who want to buy or sell and be smart about it. I like that, David. Buyers, sellers, coworkers, friends. That's great, Jan. You're already looking beyond. Anyone who has an opportunity to share their experience with you, they become a customer, right? So that goes beyond whether or not they've purchased anything. As a sales professional, you might show up to maybe it's a parent-teacher conference, right? You're not going on a listing appointment, but that teacher needs a place to live, right? So every time you have the opportunity to interact with someone, the attitude should be that, I want to greet this person just as I greet anyone that I might do business with someday, right? Now, when you're talking with your existing clients, when you're really asking them, so how did I do with this? Like, we use a process, a lot of tech companies do, it's called a net promoter score. So once a quarter, each of our members gets a question that pops up inside our application, and it says on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend Happy Grasshopper, right? So we use that as a way to calculate, how satisfied our overall membership base is. And what's interesting is, as I travel around the country and I meet with people, sometimes they'll say things like, the people who are super happy, they're always vocal about it. The people who are super unhappy, like if we've really messed up, we also hear from them. But it's the group in the middle that maybe we haven't totally pleased and we haven't totally let them down. Is very valuable for us to listen to that silence, right? So I would encourage you to think about, listening to both the music and the lyrics, right? You need to hear the whole song that's being played, not necessarily just what they're saying. And last point, be brave, be sincere. So the reason I put that on the slide is because it takes guts to ask people you served. I mean, it absolutely does. It seems like it would be easy, but sometimes, like I'm sure you've had this experience at some point in your business where something you expected to happen didn't, right? And you feel like, oh my gosh, I've got this like sacred pillar of trust between myself and my clients, and something happened here that could potentially, rupture that foundation of trust. We never want that sort of thing to occur. And yet every single person in business has had something happen where, they've had an expectation that for whatever reason they weren't able to meet. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, it's the quality of your relationship that gets you through that, right? And, any company that's trying to do big things, any company that's trying to change the world is going to have some of those things along the way. I know that we certainly have. So you got to be brave. You got to reach out about that. You absolutely do. Now, the fourth lesson here is to deliver, right? Deliver that expectation +1, right? So it's not like plus 100, it's +1. And the 1 is just 1%. So, I'll tell you, my youngest child, her name's Emily. She is, sincerely, she's one of the country's best gymnasts. And, when she is competing in a meet, it's not like she's winning by a huge margin, right? It's always just the tiniest tenth or a fraction of a tenth. That's what makes the whole difference. So when you look around at your marketplace and you see what you have to compete with, whoever it is that's trying to eat into your customer base, you have to think of, well, I don't need to be 100 times better than them. Like that can seem really daunting and prevent you from taking any action. You just need to be that one little bit better, right? And you can do that in so many ways. So I'll break down a few of those, right? There was a person very early in Happy Grasshopper's history. He's a real estate coach, and he taught a course called the Wow Experience. And I'll never forget attending his course and learning what it was that he was teaching people. I know if you're a real estate agent and you're a buyer's agent, maybe you're driving people around. So you'd always want to have a clean car, right? So his suggestion was, well, why not also have a cooler with cold drinks inside that, are labeled with your branding on it? Like, why not just roll out that red carpet experience? It costs hardly anything at all, and yet it can make someone go, wow, this is really an amazing experience. Now, at the time he taught that, it was way pre-Uber, but don't you guys know when you get in an Uber, some of them, they're like, whoo, the pride is showing all over the place. The car is spotless. They're offering you water. They've got extra chargers to plug in the phone. I mean, those types of things really make a difference. You're setting the table. You're laying out the spread for these people who have the potential to become your client. How can you make them go, oh my gosh, wow, if they did such a great job with that, I mean, they're going to do a great job with everything. That's what it seems like. So there we go, guys. Like that's the recipe. That's the whole thing that makes creating successful companies possible. I'll tell you, in my sales career, uh, I am so grateful for so many people that I've met along the way. And I'm going to mention a guy who exposed me to this great book by Ken Blanchard. His name was Todd Shackney. He was a manager. I was a brand new assistant manager. And I wasn't very comfortable in my role yet. And he said, I'm going to give you this book. I want you to read it. And it's a short, easy book. It doesn't take any time to read at all. But I've never forgotten the lessons of those books, the lessons in the book. And as I've applied them, with any company that I've started, any position that I've held, it's become so much more than just like tips for success. It becomes the DNA of the organization, right? The very culture is to take care of people. It's to wow them. It's to exceed their expectations. And that's what makes, tremendous amounts of growth in building that raving fan base possible. So for those of you who are new joining us today, I'll introduce myself a little more properly. My name is Dan. I'm a dad. I'm a writer. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been fortunate in my life to find this beautiful woman here. Her name's Kenley. We've been married now for 24 years. My God, could that be right? 24 years. Unbelievable. And we live in Tampa, Florida. I'll show you, this is our family. This is Zoe, our oldest, Ben, our middle child, and here's baby Surprise, the gymnast. And, we spend just as much quality time together as we can. And I try to always be very present when I'm home because my career puts me out on the road. I travel around the country. I speak in all sorts of really cool places. And, while it's an honor to do that, and it's a great privilege to get to meet so many people and to touch so many lives, it always just feels fantastic to come home. Like that is always just a wonderful feeling to come home. And the reason that I'm sharing this with you isn't so much to impress on you, like, woo, Dan's done some stuff. It's to impress upon you how important the lessons that I'm teaching today are, right? Because I don't believe that what I've been able to accomplish is unique to me. I think it's available to everyone. So my goal is to really make sure that everyone understands that and they know what to do to make some really fantastic things happen. So let's take a look at some nurturing musts, right? These are these 5 things you absolutely must do when you're attempting to nurture a database that's full of people. So the very first thing is to send the right message to the right people. I can't tell you how many times I talk to someone and, they would love to reach out and communicate with people. The challenge is they don't really know how they know all these people. Some of them are past clients, some of them are leads, some of them they have no idea who they are or how they even got in the database, right? So in order to send the right message to the right people, you have to start with some simple organization. So there are 2 kinds of people in the world, period. They either know us, or they don't know us, period. That's it. Your past clients, your sphere of influence, these are people who all know you, right? Your family, your friends, your neighbors, folks you know from school if you've got kids, community center folks, your vendors that you refer, right? Your dentist, the guy who mows your lawn or cleans your pool. All these folks know who you are, right? And they expect you to communicate with them in a way that shows respect for that relationship. Where the people over here who don't, like every single lead you generate, right? If you're collecting any sort of opportunity online, those people have been exposed to your branding, but they don't know who you are. And they certainly see you as being just one of many, right? So the first lesson here, the first must, is that you just have to bring a sense of organization to that database. So the way I like to look at it is in terms of audiences, because we're communicating to these people, right? They become our audience. And the past clients and the sphere here, SOI, sphere of influence, we know those people the best. So we communicate with those people in a more friendly way than we would a brand new lead that doesn't know us at all. Now, other agents, vendors, recruits, they may or may not know us. And so we have to take that into consideration when we're sending to them. So The second, this Peter, I see your comment there. He's asking, how long is the beard going to stay? That's a good question. It's a good question. So, for those of you who've been on my webinars in the past, you know I have this like Hawkeye vision for the questions that come in. So I'm always happy to take a question. If anything occurs to you, just pop it in the chat, and I will certainly address it. So moving on to the next must. I'm a big believer in setting expectations that can be automated, right? So, I mean, what the heck am I talking about? If you're communicating with someone, like you've got a lead that comes in online, well, you should use some language in what's being communicated back to those people that sets expectations that are going to be fulfilled completely automatically, right? So an example would be, you can count on me to follow up. Like, that's simple language. It sets an expectation. And of course, you can leverage automation to where you're certain that that person is going to be followed up with. Now, here's a message. This is one of our demo messages. It's a lead response for a Zillow lead. And I mean, look how simple this is, right? It's not like we've written poetry here. What we've done is examine the data. And the data tells us that if we set expectations, I'll be calling soon, you can count on me to follow up with you, and we follow it with an easy to read phone number, that can actually produce the inbound call for you from that lead. So that's awesome. The data also says that if we ask a question, we tend to get a reply, and yet some questions are better than others, right? So, you know, if this is a brand new lead that's just come in and I ask them, hey, when would you like to go look at houses? That's a threatening question. That's a salesy question. If I say, hey, have you been pre-approved yet? Have you looked into financing? If I ask any of those questions, it's all really threatening because we have absolutely no relationship at this point in time. So as an alternate, ask a question that's non-threatening and that they know the answer to. Like, in the meantime, do you prefer text, email, or phone, right? That's an effective question to ask. So moving into the next must here, right? The next must of nurturing your database would be to make it fun sometimes, right? There's an appropriate time for a message to be fun, and there's an inappropriate time for a message to be fun. So let's break that down a little bit. Holidays, it's a holiday today. Happy Valentine's, right? It's a great time to inject some fun into your messaging, right? Birthdays are awesome. Transaction anniversaries are awesome. And I will show you a sample holiday message here that is very fun. This is a Mother's Day message. So I want you to imagine that this coming Sunday was Mother's Day. Think all the sort of stuff that would be arriving in your inbox. You'd get like the dancing flowers, you know, you'd get take mom to Outback, you'd get all sorts of like cheesy stuff. You wouldn't get a lot of things that feel like personal communication unless, of course, someone is using Happy Grasshopper. So this is a Mother's Day message that we had tremendous success with. We got huge amounts of positive feedback about this message. And it reads, "Hi, Gus. We all know Sunday is Mother's Day, although I'd never heard how they celebrate in Serbia. Have you? Children sneak into mom's bedroom and tie her feet together with string, and then it gets worse. She has to negotiate her release by giving her kids presents. Crazy, right? There's not much in it for mom, so at least she gets to lie down for a little while. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. If you need help with anything, please let me know. Have a great Friday, Jennifer." All right. So that's a super, super fun, easy message. And if you're scratching your head and saying, well, it's not about my business, I don't understand. Well, you know, this is where having your database segmented makes all the difference. Like, you don't need to send real estate facts or home care tips on Mother's Day. Like, let's send messaging that's relevant to the moment in time that it's sent, and let's send it in such a way that the person who reads it gets to be surprised and delighted. Like, you know, I doubt any of you knew that that's how they celebrate in Serbia, and yet they do. That's kind of a cool thing. So when we're creating content like this, and you want to take some notes on this part if you're interested in writing your own content. We look for something that's relevant to the moment, that we can come at it from a slightly different angle. So we call that the dimple, right? I mean, if you think of Mother's Day, you might think, well, you know, some people have mothers who are living, some people's mothers have passed, right? It could be kind of dangerous to send a message if I don't know exactly the situation for everyone who's going to read this. So if you take something that's topical and interesting and you explain that thing in a short, fun way, like look how short this message is, right? It's easy to consume, it's easy to read. You'll find that people will reply to that sort of message positively. One of the highest compliments we get from our members is that the people they're sending the messages to say things like, "Oh my God, I love this. I can't wait for your next email." That to us is a perfect example of not merely serving our customer, the member, but serving the customer of our customer, right? We've got to make sure that all the way through that chain, we're providing value to the reader. So let's move on to the next must, okay? This is include touches without a sales agenda. This is so important. Like, I recently subscribed to a company's email feed. They asked us to create some content for them, and I wanted to see the sort of thing that they were sending. And every day now, for about 45 days, I've received an extremely long form copy message that's got multiple calls to action in each message. And the way that people buy, we're not all ready to buy at the moment we've received an email. And so I'm so accustomed now to receiving offer from them that I'm no longer intrigued or interested in what they're sending, because I'm not ready to buy that particular product or service at this particular point in time. So there's a lot of value in appearing in the inbox, not as someone who has a quota to fill, right? Not as someone who's put a target on the backs of every member of their database, but as simply as someone who cares enough to keep in touch, right? There's tons of value there. So you can do this on email, you can do it in social media. And if you are doing it in social media, let me point out some of the things you can share. Like, the meme economy is really thriving today. There's all sorts of like viral videos that get shared and interesting little news stories that people jump all over. So there's a site for this called BuzzSumo, and you can go there and see what's trending, right? So if you're looking for content that's fun to share, that's a great place for you to find some of that content. Now, I'm going to show you an example of a message that has no sales agenda and yet has produced tremendous sales results, right? So this is the kind of message that you would send to people who already know who you are, not to that cold lead. So this message, the subject line is Finca Palmolera. It reads, "Hi, Dan. I just saw that Starbucks is offering a $7 cup of coffee, and no, it doesn't come with a sandwich. It's called the Costa Rica Finca Palmolera, and it's just a really, really expensive cup of coffee. Bet you didn't know what that was in the subject line, right? Anyway, if you'd like to join me for a cup, let me know. It'd be great to see you." Okay. So Brian sent this message to his past clients in his sphere, and he ended up spending, I don't remember the exact number, but he spent a fair bit of coin on coffee. And from those coffee meetings, he ended up with 19 leads to chase down that turned into 5 contracts, right? So here's a message that doesn't say anything about selling real estate, like his email signature does, but there's no sales agenda here. It's just a friendly touch to people who already know the sender. So that's a super valuable sort of message to be able to send. Now, the last nurturing tip here that I'll share with you is to play the long game, okay? Play the long game, particularly those of you who are in real estate. The data on this is super clear. Like, over 90% of your competition quits at 4 touches. The Wave Group did a study. We did our own study at Happy Grasshopper. We registered on over 50 different agent sites to see what their follow-up sequence was. We got an average of 1.2 phone calls and 2 emails, and that was it. Nothing else, right? Maybe we get some IDX search requests, like search update emails, but no other actual follow-up. And sadly, it didn't get better when we actually made outbound calls into the real estate offices. We still went time and time again without getting any sort of call back, right? And the reason for this is called lead fatigue. So NAR reports that in 2017, I can't wait till the 2018 data comes out, but the 2017 data was that there were 85 million leads generated online for 5.5 million transactions. 85 million for 5.5 million transactions, right? So that lead that you get is almost certainly being received by another agent. In fact, the average shopper registers on as many as 10 websites, right? And those registrations often take place 8 to 12 months before they're ready to even engage in the process of having a transaction. So those of you who are playing the long game get to win, right? Because we've proven that you can build relationships over time with the right content, and then you get to scoop up that business over time. Like, I'll never forget, we have a client, some of you know, his name is Ben Kinney, and he was a guest on one of our webinars, and he said, you know, Dan, the reason my business is thriving is because the leads I generated this year are closing. The leads I generated last year are closing. The leads I generated the year before last are closing. And, you know, he expressed that Happy Grasshopper was a big part of the reason that we're making that happen for him. So here's the deal, right? If you know that first registration is 8 to 12 months before the transaction, and you don't have a solution in place to follow up with them through that time frame, you're losing opportunity. There's just no other way around it. You're losing opportunity. So let me show you what a cold touch conversion sequence looks like, right? So a lead comes in from whatever source. Maybe it's a Zillow lead, an IDX lead, maybe it's an open house registrant, maybe it's a referral from a past client. Like, whatever the source of that lead is, you need to acknowledge them in a way that's unique to the lead source, okay? Then you've got to position yourself to them, and that takes place over a series of messages. Now, if we look across our member base and we look at the data, what's worked best for us is to send this acknowledgement message within a minute of a lead being captured, unless our client is using an ISA, right? Because typically that ISA is going to be on an outbound call to that person right away. So then, of course, we are positioning you to them. The first email generally goes out 1 hour after, the next day, and then 3 days later. Like, that's what we're seeing as most effective. And then there's a nurturing sequence that runs on off into the distance. So the idea is that these near-term transactions, like, just because the average registration takes place 8 to 12 months ahead of time, that doesn't mean that their registration you just got isn't from someone who's ready to buy a house today, right? So acknowledging and positioning yourself to them is effective at scooping up that near-term opportunity, and nurturing is effective at scooping up the long-term opportunity. So these messages, typically delivered once every 3 weeks, has worked very well for our clients. So I'd like to ask you another question, guys. Just a super simple question, and that question is: do you want better relationships? Tell me. I want to know. I'll wait for your answers. Do you want better relationships? And yes, I'm talking about personal relationships as well as business relationships. Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, David. Thank you, Peter, Henry, Kimberly, Betty. Yeah, of course, right? I mean, we should all want better relationships. So here's where I've got a plan for you, right? So those Post-it notes, right? So look around your desk. Where are those Post-it notes? I'm sure you have them somewhere. I want you to grab a giant pack of Post-it notes, and I want you to play this little game in your life. So if you're watching this webinar from your office, you've got people there that you interact with that you probably don't express appreciation to all that frequently. We all get so caught up in our own day-to-day it can be tough sometimes to snap out of it. So what I'd like you to do is just grab that Post-it note, write a couple few words of appreciation, and leave that note in a place where it's going to be seen by the person you want to read it. Okay? This is a fantastic game to play in your personal relationships as well. I mean, I love nothing more sincerely than when my 10-year-old daughter slips a little Post-it note in my suitcase. So I'm getting on a plane to go speak somewhere, and I crack open my luggage at the hotel room, and there's this little, 10-year-old handwriting with hearts, and I love you, Dad, and do a great job, and we'll miss you. And I just go, oh my God, that feels so fantastic, right? So you have an opportunity, you have the power to deliver those little moments of happiness throughout your life. I believe in this so strongly that we have something special here at Happy Grasshopper. So I know you're probably wondering, maybe you can't even read that, but this is our love jug. This is our bucket of love. So every Monday afternoon, we have a company-wide meeting. And throughout the week, people drop these little notes inside the bucket, right? So there are a bunch of them in here. And it's just, little words of praise for the job that was done. I mean, just like all sorts of these nice little notes here. Too many of these are for me right now, so I'm not going to read those. Here's one to Robbie, right? He's the head of our success team. He's like a super important guy here. Robbie, thank you for being so willing to help out with Ivy Smart. Heart, Janan, right? So just a little brief thing like that injected into someone's life really makes a difference. These small little touches can go such a long way. So I would love for you guys to go ahead and start practicing that. And of course, I want to hear the feedback, right? Now, you've got people in your database that you can't like go sneak into their house, right? You can't break in the middle of the night and put a little Post-it note on your past client's dresser. That would be very creepy. But what you can do is send them an email, right? You can play this game with your database. You absolutely can. So one of my personal goals, this is a habit that I'm ingrained in me, is to reach out and say something positive to one person, just one person every single day. And I'm going to show you a recent message there that I wrote. So this message reads, "Hey, Justin, it's always a pleasure to share time with you. Thanks for being such a solid representation of BA. I don't know how much you hear from others, but I'm always impressed by you. From your presentation today, I learned a few things that I'll be thinking about in the weeks to come," right? And then there's 2 bullet points of things that made an impact on me. And then I close by saying, "I'll be thinking of who I know that ships 50 plus widgets per day. Keep me in mind for a future Ghosts and Guns sponsorship. Talk soon, Dan." So this is a short, friendly message. It doesn't take hardly any effort at all, and it makes a huge impact. So you see, I just sent that message on Feb 7, and here, Feb 12, like he didn't get to it right away, but he got to it, right? That message made an impact. And he replies to me, "Thank you so much for this wonderful email. I really enjoyed our talk at dinner, right? This is the sort of thing that builds a real relationship. Now, Justin Singletary, he owns a company called fulfillment.com. They've been a client of ours. We've written content for them. And I see Justin periodically at a conference we go to called BA. It's a Board of Advisors. And I watched a presentation he gave at the conference, and I was, just delighted to share my experience of what he presented. This is the sort of stuff that seems so small and is so appreciated today. It really, truly is. We live in a time where everything is constantly at war for our attention. And if we take just a small moment to touch someone, they're always going to remember how we made them feel, right? That's the magic. That's the magic right there. If you can make people feel really appreciated, you can weather almost anything that can happen in your business. So what do you think, guys? Are you ready to see some new stuff? I'm so excited. I can't wait to show you. So I'm going to exit the PowerPoint here, and I'm just going to pull up a screen. And I'm going to show those of you who are our members what your Happy Grasshopper account is going to look like here in the very, very near future. So I want to make sure that you're able to see this. So can you guys confirm for me that you're able to see my screen here? This is what our application looks like today, right? So for those of you who don't know, we have this training section where there's some really great webinars that we've recorded with our friends and clients. And then we have a contact management area. We have different types of sends. It's a very functional system, but we want to update it. We want to introduce some new hotness in the world. And we have added something that I'm so excited about. So take a look at this, guys. So here's that same training panel. You see there's a new UI. That stands for user interface. It's just the design element here that helps you navigate your way around the application. So I'm not going to go through and give you guys like a huge, super detailed tour of this. What I am going to do is point out some new things here that will be coming for you very, very soon. We're rolling this out to some members beginning this week. So you'll see here, first thing I'll show you is signatures. Now, in the signatures area, we've got the ability for you to build all sorts of, beautifully designed custom email signatures. So you can just, choose one of these templates, fill out your forms, pop in your image, your social media links. You can style the color. You can change whether you want a round picture or a square picture or a square picture with rounded edges. You have all those sorts of options here. And it's just easy and effortless to build that. Now, one step down from there, you'll see something I'm very proud of called custom fields, right? So this seems small, and yet it's absolutely huge. Custom fields is the thing that's going to let us make some very special advancements here in the near future. So more about those in a moment. But you can now add a custom field to any contact record. So, this way when you're viewing the contacts in the account, and, those of you who are using our service, you'll see that this is a little bit different as well. I'm going to click on a single contact record here. We're now capturing some fields that we haven't captured in the past, like date of birth, right? Gender. What's Happy Grasshopper up to tracking that? We've got physical addresses, right? You've got their social accounts, which, over here, this is all dummy data here, of course, but it populates all of these things here for you. Then you have the custom fields. So, you can think of all sorts of things you might want. Maybe it's the MLS ID for their listing. Like you can add that custom field and then we can track that data. Maybe it's the name of their children, right? Maybe you want to have that. So we're very excited that we have that sort of functionality here, because that's going to let us do some amazing things that I'll show you in just a moment. Now, one more thing I'll show you here. I've just clicked down on the left here in custom forms. So you now have the ability to create your own custom forms for all kinds of different purposes. And here you see I've created one that's just for open houses, right? So you can deploy that form on an iPad. You can still use a paper sign-in sheet if you want, but if you'd like those folks to just automatically get entered into Happy Grasshopper, you can just use your own sign-in form for that. Now, here I've designed this one to use our logo. Of course, yours can be designed with your own logo, your own text. You can decide how many fields you want to be there. You can determine the size of the fields. You have all sorts of ability to customize that. So those are some super cool things that are coming to the application. I'm going to jump in and show you just one more thing. I'm going to click over here in Write Your Own, and we're going to click Create New. So you know how I was talking about that 365-day Post-it challenge and how I'm encouraging you to play it in email? Well, you can do that here very easily. So you now have the ability to choose to send to a group or to send to an individual. And you could just pull up, one individual that you want to send to, write your subject line, write your greetings, draft that message, right? And out it goes. So super, super easy. And the advantage of doing that through our system is that you get all the wonderful reporting data. So you'll not just only get the reply in the inbox, of course, but you'll get the data on the hot sheet so that you'll know when it's time to give that person a call. So I'm really proud and excited to introduce this to you guys. What do you think? Are you happy to see this? Those of you who are already our members, this is really cool, right? Yes, yes. Awesome. Very great. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, I'm glad you guys like this. Now I'm going to jump back to the PowerPoint, right? I'm going to jump back into that PowerPoint because you need to see why that little crazy thing that I've just shared is so important. So you should all be able to see the PowerPoint screen. So where I've just shown you that application. So making these updates, changing that interface might seem like just a minor artistic change, but we've really revamped the entire architecture of our application, right? So this makes us monstrously more scalable. Like we can do a ton of things we've never been able to do before. And beginning in the second quarter, those things are going to be live. So let me show you. Like today, we're known as a company that creates great content for email. Beginning in the second quarter, you'll be able to send SMS messages, right? You'll be able to send voicemail blasts. You'll have print capabilities. And I'm not talking about just like pressing print on your printer. I'm talking about being able to send things like a pen-written card through our service. So if you want to send a birthday card, a transaction anniversary card, we're going to enable that sort of functionality for you. And then the last thing you see here is a messenger integration. So let me put this in context, guys. When I started this company, my goal was to validate, can I create content that will bring people together, right? Can we connect the world in conversation? Well, we've proven over the past 9 years that we absolutely can. And we are embracing these 4 new types of send because we want to empower you in ways that we haven't been capable of doing in the past. So coming in the second quarter, this thing is going to be really amazing. I cannot wait to get it tuned up. Now, yes, I knew these questions were going to come. Is it included or is it an add-on feature? So this is really sweet. So those of you who are already our members, we are going to do what we've done since day one. We're going to make this functionality available for you without an increase in your current investment. Like, round of applause, right? That's really rare. Lots of services send me notices every month saying, hey, our pricing has changed. Next month, you'll be paying something much higher. So we're not doing that. So if you're not already our member, you're going to want to jump on board. Now, I will point out that some of these things have a direct per send cost related with them, like SMS and print, okay? So you'll have access to send those sorts of things inside your account. But obviously, we can't send an unlimited number of handwritten cards or an unlimited number of texts without charging you a fee for that. So total clarity, you will not receive any sort of an increase in your monthly investment unless you're using SMS and print. Now, for those of you who are not already our members, I'm going to make it impossible for you not to join. So here's how that's going to work. We have put together this really amazing Valentine's Day special. And what this means is that you're going to get access to all of these great new features in the second quarter at the lowest rate you can possibly have access, which is awesome. So here's the way that that offer works, right? This ends February 18th at midnight. So that's 4 days from now. Like, you've got some time. If you want to reach out, you want to talk to us, you want to get your questions answered, you want to go on a huge detailed tour with us, totally fine. We'll go on that tour with you. Otherwise, you just need to go to happygrasshopper.com/Valentine. And when you get there, you're going to see that this offer is laid out. Instead of investing the $99 per month that our service normally is, you're going to save $589 on your annual plan, and you're going to just make a one-time payment of $599 for the whole year. Now, I know that some of you are watching this are going, well, wait a minute, Dan, I just did like the annual upgrade and I didn't get a price that was that low. Well, how cool is this? You can get that price if you want it. If you want to add a year of service onto the end of what you already had at this price, just go ahead there and take advantage of it. And we'll just extend your usage window with us at that lowered rate. So I'm going to now open this for questions, of course. I want to make sure that I save a little time for that. And, oh gosh, I love it. Thank you so much. Yay, applause. Yay, yeehaw. Awesome. You guys are great. I mean, this is so much fun for me. You know, to get to do this, I just still feel like I'm unwrapping a gift every day of my life to get to come to work and do this. I work with an amazing group of people that I absolutely love, and I serve the best clients in the world, salespeople. Like, we are the best people in the world, as far as I'm concerned. So, so bring it on, folks. You've got questions. I am here to answer them. Rebecca, that is correct. The $5.99. So we sell our service in 2 different flavors, right? We have Happy Grasshopper, and then we have what we call HG Pro. So the only difference in those services is that HG Pro includes a bunch of custom written content. So for HG Pro, there's a one-time initial setup of $1,895, and that's to have one of our copywriters interview you and create all the cool content that you need, and then to have our tech team go and connect to all your lead sources. So that's an option. You can choose to upgrade. So if that's something you'd want to do, you would pay $5.99 for the year, and then if you want that custom content, it's the $18.95. That's how that works. All right, so Bob, I see your question. Yeah, that's a great question, actually. A lot of you have used services where everyone's sending the same content, and that can be a problem, right? Because like me, for example, I got the same Valentine's Day message from about 75 people today, and I won't say which brand they're at, but you know who you are, people. I got the same exact message from over 70 of you. That's nuts. So our system is designed to where no single recipient ever gets the same message from more than one of our members. That's super cool. So you never have to worry about that with us. Rebecca, you can absolutely talk with us. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to do a couple of things here. So first, I'm going to put a link for everyone here, happygrasshopper.com/apply, which this is a general page. You can book a time there with anyone on our staff. So I'm going to send that link out to everybody. And then I'm also going to put in a link here, happygrasshopper.com/Dan. Shh, don't tell anyone. Right? And that link goes directly to my calendar. So I'm a super busy guy. I would encourage you to talk to anybody on my staff. We'll all take great care of you. And of course, you can certainly call us. So don't forget that, Rebecca. I've got a great team of people here. I'll pop our number in the chat here for everyone as well. So that's our main office number, and anyone who answers the phone there can help you. So Betty, I love your question. Betty Jean, forgive me. I love your question. Are there back-end analytics? Yes, absolutely. So we analyze data like you wouldn't believe. We actually analyze a lot more data than we report on in our member accounts. So, you know, 99% of our member base are salespeople. And rather than getting like a daily grind of all the same metrics every company delivers, like opens, clicks, unsubscribes, so on and so forth, we send you a daily email that shows you who's really engaged with your content. We call that a hot sheet. Now, inside our application, I'll actually jump out of the PowerPoint here to show you this. I'll jump back to the application. So I'm going to click down here on reporting, right? So we report on blasts, send by audience messages, send by message type content, campaigns, and all of these are drill downable. So like here, I'll click on see all, and then I see these individual messages. If I want to click to see who's opened, well, I can drill down and click on that. I could just go and go and go. I can keep digging into the data here to see that. So these columns, by the way, delivered, soft bounced, hard bounced, opened, clicked, opt out, and complaints. So we track spam complaints. Absolutely we do. That's an important piece of data to track. Now, there's one bit of data that's not reported here that's actually very important, and that is the number of replies that a message generates. So for example, when I come over to send by audience, like let's say you want to send messages to your sphere, right? So I'll just go ahead and filter that way. And we see we've got all this content here that's ready to go. Well, these messages get rated, right? So each of you has the opportunity to tell us whether you liked a message or you didn't like a message. So like I'll preview this first message here. Are you a Marie Kondo convert yet? If you're not yet acquainted, she's a tidying expert who's inspired countless people to start organizing and decluttering their houses, right? I actually recently watched my first Marie Kondo episode, and I immediately wanted to like go tear apart the garage. So it's pretty cool. Now, you can just rate this message. Maybe you don't like it, so you give it a 1. Maybe you absolutely love it, so you give it all 5 hearts, right? That's going to teach our system what you like, so that we can create more messages that our members want and less messages that they don't, right? So the rating of the message is very important. And yet at the same time, internally, our writing staff is staying laser focused on messaging that generates replies. Because, I mean, that's what it's all about. We need to engage that conversation. So as we're creating messaging for our members, we're using the data to know what the members want, and we're using the data to know what actually works, right? It's those two things married together that makes this so special. So I hope that answers that question. I got to jump back to the PowerPoint to see your questions coming in. Let me do that. Oh, you're welcome, Betty Jean. Absolutely. And Evelyn, yes, absolutely, that is still available. So she's asking if the $99 per month account would be available rather than making that lump sum investment. That's totally fine. And you know, like all of our services, you know, you can upgrade, downgrade, you can make changes whenever you want. So that'll work totally fine. So yeah, please reach out at those links that I gave you, and we'll help you with that. Tom, let me see your question here. Can your custom files work such that I want to mail only to those whose budget is over, for example, $485,000? Also, will they have either or not filters? Okay, great questions. So, you know, Tom, it sounds like you have some experience with slicing up a database to send relevant messaging. That's a great thing to be able to do. Inside our system, we use something called tagging. So I'm going to jump back here into this demo account. And like here in the management area, you see tags and audiences. So you can create tags for all sorts of things. And what a tag lets you do is include or exclude people from receiving content, right? So we'll use your example. We'll call it, I think it was above 485,000. That's what I'll put here. Above 485,000. So that audience we'll call leads, right? And I'll just save that. So here's that new tag that we've just created. Now that would let us sort a database to send to them. And similarly, we can create tags for, like here, I'll create another tag for maybe it's Tom's home valuation site. Just taking a guess here that you have one of those, Tom. We'll also call this leads, and I'll save that. So for a lead source, we're going to want to create an inbox on our servers that we can catch leads from. So does this does this tag need an inbox to catch leads? If the answer is yes, of course, that's what we're going to want. So again, we'll tag that as leads. We'll create the inbox. So now we have a unique address here that we can receive those leads at. And what this means is that if you're using any type of lead gen system that notifies you via email that you have a new lead, you could just CC us at that address, and we'll know everything that arrives there is that type of lead, right? So that's super cool. It's called email parsing, and it lets us catch leads from hundreds of different sources. And of course, we also connect via IDX and via a tool called Zapier with hundreds of different tools. So it's difficult to think of a lead source we can't catch. So let's see what other questions we have here. Tom, you corrected fields, not files, but I caught that, so I think I answered that all right. Let me know if I didn't. Evelyn, I'm sorry. I mentioned that we're being crazy busy. So she's saying sale ends the 18th, but there aren't any appointments available for the 19th. So Evelyn, I'll make sure that someone on my staff calls you today. Just as soon as we get the webinar wrapped up, we'll handle that. Let's see, David, that could be a great tip. I appreciate that. So yeah, I'll look into that. We already have our resources lined up, but I'm not beyond taking a look at some others there. So thank you for that suggestion. I will look into it. All right, so let's see what other questions we have here. Well, guys, I think that got to all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get this wrapped up. I'll just tread water here for a moment in case someone's typing right now. Oh, Rebecca, great. You're in there. Awesome. So I'll look forward to connecting with you, Rebecca. Thank you. She booked on my calendar. Awesome. So guys, thank you. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you got a lot of value from attending today. Those of you who are already our members, go you. We love you guys. Thank you. And those of you who are not, get on board. There's never going to be a better time than right now. So I'll look forward to connecting with you soon. Betty Jean, great question. She's asking if we integrate with BombBomb. We do. We have integration. We've had an integration with them for years and years, although our system is capable of sending video email as well. So there you go. Oh, you're welcome, David. Thank you. I appreciate that. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm a big fan, actually. Betty Jean is just saying great about the BombBomb integration. So Connor and Darren and I have been friends for, I gotta say, 7 or 8 years now. So, you know, there are little places where our services have some overlap. But, you know, we're so strong on the custom content. Like, I can't even tell you how important it is to have content that really fits who you are. Like, who you are in the inbox needs to match who you are when you shake hands with someone for the first time. And for a lot of people, that's really difficult to accomplish on video. It just is. So I'm a great fan of using it. I mean, clearly I have my camera on right now. It's just, you know, it's not meant for everyone. So, oh, from Martha's Vineyard. Gosh. So Elise from Martha's Vineyard, I have to tell you something. My favorite modern American artist, Thomas Hart Benton, he spent a lot of time on Martha's Vineyard. I'll never forget, when I was a teenager, I found this old modern art book at a garage sale. It was like this thick, and it had these beautiful full color plates. And his painting was so sculptural. It was just absolutely beautiful. So I have never been to Martha's Vineyard, but I've seen portraits he painted of his son and their dog and his wife all over Martha's Vineyard. So I hope to get to visit that part of the country someday. All right, folks. So I have tread some water. I have answered your questions, and I'll look forward to connecting with y'all soon. Thanks for your time. Bye, everybody.